Moving to the Alabama Gulf Coast sounds pretty simple from the outside. You find a home near the beach, enjoy the sunshine, spend more time outdoors, and start living that coastal lifestyle everyone talks about. But once you actually start looking at places like Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Foley, Robertsdale, and all the little surrounding areas, you quickly realize there's a lot more to think about than just finding a house you like. Because the mistake a lot of people make is they move here based on how the area feels when they visit on vacation. They spend a few days at the beach, eat at some great restaurants, enjoy the water, and they think, this is exactly where I want to live. And for a lot of people, it absolutely can be. But living here full time is very different from visiting for a week. You have to think about things like traffic during peak seasons, insurance, flood zones, how far you really want to be from the beach, whether you want a tourist area lifestyle or a more residential lifestyle, and what day-to-day life is actually going to look like once that vacation feeling wears off. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the biggest mistakes people make when moving to the Alabama Gulf Coast and how to avoid them before you make a decision. And this is not meant to scare you away from the area at all. I love helping people move here, but I also want you to have realistic expectations so you can choose the area, the home, and the lifestyle that actually fits you. But first, if this is your first time on the channel, I'm really glad you're here. I'm Miranda Baldridge with Advantage Real Estate, your local go-to realtor and community connector right here in Baldwin County, Alabama. I help people relocate to Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Foley, Robertsdale, and all the surrounding areas. And one of the biggest parts of what I do is helping people understand the difference between visiting the Alabama Gulf Coast and actually living here full time. So if you're thinking about moving to this area, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I share a lot of videos about what it's really like living here, what different areas feel like, and what you should know before you make the move. And if you ever have questions about homes, neighborhoods, or relocating to the area, feel free to reach out to me anytime. All right, let's get into the biggest mistakes to avoid when moving to the Alabama Gulf Coast. The first mistake is choosing where to live based only on where you enjoyed vacationing. This is probably one of the most common things I see. Someone visits Gulf Shores or Orange Beach, they have a great time, love the beach, love the restaurants, love the water, and immediately start thinking, I want to live right here. And I completely understand why. The Alabama Gulf Coast is beautiful, and when you're here on vacation, it's easy to fall in love with the lifestyle. But living somewhere full-time is very different from visiting for a few days. When you're on vacation, you're usually staying close to the beach, eating out, relaxing, and enjoying the area without thinking about everyday routines. But when you live here, you have to think about groceries, doctor appointments, errands, traffic, school or work schedules, home maintenance, insurance, and what your normal week is actually going to look like. So before you choose an area, don't just ask, where did I enjoy visiting? Ask, what do I want my more normal Tuesday to look like? Because that is a much better question when you're deciding where to live. Another mistake is assuming Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Foley, and Robertsdale all feel the same just because they're close together on the map. They are close, but they are very different. Gulf Shores has more of an active beach town feel. Orange Beach feels more connected to boating, marinas, waterfront living, condos, or resort style living. Foley is more inland. It's more residential with shopping, neighborhoods, newer communities, and everyday convenience. Robertsdale tends to feel a little more spread out, quieter, more removed from the beach traffic and tourist activity. So even though these areas are all part of the broader Gulf Coast region, your day-to-day experience can be very different depending on where you choose to live. This is why it is so important not to just search for homes near the beach and assume everything will feel the same. A home may technically be close to Gulf Shores or Orange Beach, but the lifestyle can feel completely different depending on whether you're in a tourist-heavy area, a residential neighborhood, a condo building, a boating community, or a quieter inland location. So before you decide, make sure you understand the personality of each area, not just the distance on the map. Another big mistake people make is underestimating seasonal traffic. When people visit during a quieter time of year, they may think, oh, getting around's easy. And sometimes it is. But during summer, spring break, holiday holiday weekends, and major events, the area can feel very different. Roads heading toward the beach get busier. Restaurants have longer waits. Certain areas take longer to get through. And if you live in a location where your daily routine takes you through tourist traffic, that can become something you notice more often. Now, this does not mean the traffic is bad all the time. It is seasonal. A lot of residents simply learn when to go, which routes to take, and how to plan around those busier times. But it is still something you need to understand before moving here. The mistake is not moving here because of traffic. The mistake is moving here without understanding when traffic is most noticeable and how it could affect your routine. Another major mistake is not looking into insurance and flood zones early enough in the process. This is especially important if you are buying closer to the coast. When you move to a coastal area, insurance will be different from what you may be used to in other parts of the country. So be prepared. It can be a bit of sticker shock for insurance cost here. Depending on the property and the location, you may need to think about homeowners insurance, wind coverage, flood insurance, and what the specific property may require. And this is not something you want to discover at the last minute, because sometimes buyers will fall in love with the property, get deep in the process, and then realize the insurance costs are higher than expected. That can change the monthly payment. It can change the budget. And in some cases, it can change whether that home is still the right fit. The same thing goes for flood zones. In a coastal area, you want to understand how the property sits, what the elevation looks like, and whether flood insurance may be a part of the picture. This is not about being afraid of coastal living. It's about being informed. People live along the Gulf Coast permanently, full-time, and we love it. But some buyers, when they're smart, they ask these questions early instead of waiting until the end of the process. Another mistake is only looking at the home price instead of the full monthly cost. I do understand why people do this. When you're relocating, you may be comparing homes online and you're thinking, this one is less expensive, so it must be the better option. Price alone does not tell the full story. A lower price home may need updates. It may be farther from the areas you actually want to spend time in. It may have higher insurance costs. It may have HOA fees. It may not fit your lifestyle, or it may be in a location that feels different once you actually drive around the area. So instead of only asking, what is the cheapest home I can buy? Ask, what is the full monthly cost, and does this home actually fit the way I want to live? Because once you include insurance, taxes, any applicable HOA fees, utilities, maintenance, drive time, the cheapest option isn't always the best fit. Sometimes spending a little more for the right location, condition, or layout can make more sense long term. And sometimes the more affordable home really is a great fit. The point is, you have to look at the whole picture. Another mistake is not being honest about how close you really want to be to the beach. A lot of people say, I want to be close to the beach. Well, that can mean very different things. For some people, close means walking distance. For others, close means 5-minute drive. For others, close means 20 or 30 minutes away, as long as they can go when they want. And each of the choices comes with trade-offs. If you want to be very close to the beach, you may be looking at condos, smaller lots, higher prices, more tourism, and different insurance considerations. If you're okay being farther inland, you may get more space, more home options, and a more residential lifestyle, but you won't have the same immediate beach access. Neither one is right or wrong. It just depends on what matters most to you. The mistake is saying you want to be near the beach without defining what that actually means for your daily life, because that one decision can completely change where you should be looking. Another mistake people make, especially when looking in Gulf Shores or Orange Beach, is not fully understanding condo living before they buy. Condos can be a great option for the right person. They can offer beach access, water views, amenities, and lower exterior maintenance. For some buyers, that's exactly what they want. But condo living is different from owning a single-family home. You need to understand HOA fees, assessments, building rules, rental restrictions, if that matters to you, traffic at the complex during peak rental seasons, parking, elevators, amenities, insurance responsibilities, and how the building is managed. A condo may look affordable online, but once you add the monthly HOA fee, the insurance, and other costs, the full monthly picture can look very different. So if you are considering a condo, make sure you understand the total cost and the lifestyle that comes with it. Some people love it. Others realize they would rather rather have a single family home with more space and more control? There, again, is no right or wrong answer. It just depends on what kind of ownership and lifestyle you actually want. Another mistake is only budgeting for the home and not budgeting for the lifestyle. Living near the coast can be as simple or as expensive as you make it. You can enjoy the beach, walking, sunsets, and outdoor time without spending much at all. But if your lifestyle includes eating out often, boating, fishing, entertainment, beach gear, visitors coming into town, and weekend activities, those costs can add up. A lot of people move here because they want to enjoy the lifestyle, and that makes sense. But it is important to include that in your budget. If you're moving to the Alabama Gulf Coast because you want to actually experience the area, then your monthly spending may look different than it did before. So don't just budget for the mortgage. Think about how you want to live once you get here, because your lifestyle budget can be just as important as your housing budget. The last mistake is visiting the area like a tourist, not experiencing it like a local. When people come here on vacation, they usually stay near the beach, eat out, visit attractions, and spend most of their time in the most popular areas. That's great for vacation, but if you are thinking about living here full time, you need to do more than that. You need to drive through the neighborhoods that you're considering. Go to the grocery store. See how long it takes to get to daily essentials. Drive the route that you think you would normally take. Visit during a busier time if you can. Visit during a quieter time if it's possible. Pay attention to how the area feels when you're not just in vacation mode, because that is how you start to understand whether an area really fits you. A place can be amazing for a vacation and still not be the right fit for your everyday lifestyle. And the opposite can also be true. So those are some of the biggest mistakes to avoid when moving to the Alabama Gulf Coast. And again, none of this is meant to scare you. You have beaches, boating, outdoor, coastal lifestyle, and a lot of different options depending on what kind of life you want to build here. But the key is making sure you understand the area before you make a decision, because choosing the right location, understanding the full cost, and knowing what day-to-day life will actually feel like can make a huge difference in how happy you are after you move. And if you're thinking about moving to Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Foley, Robertsdale, or anywhere else along the Alabama Gulf Coast, feel free to reach out to me. I help people relocate to this area all the time, and I would love to help you compare the areas, understand the market, and figure out what might be the right fit for your lifestyle and your budget. You can call, text, or email me anytime. All my contact information is in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I share a lot of videos about what it's really like living here along the Alabama Gulf Coast. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.